The interest in this topic was spurred on from a guy named Kurt Kaz. Now, this guy, Kurt Kaz, he is a travel vlogger. So you would think with all of the traveling around the world, that would really open your mind to different cultures, different ways of life, and how we're all just people trying to live. But unfortunately, he's a great example of how you can travel the world, and as long as your mind is fucking closed, everything you see is just going to confirm your biases.
Traveling and experiencing different culture does not mean that you will become pro-cosmopolitanism, pro-multiculturalism, and to an extent pro-globalizations of cultures. You can still enjoy traveling and experiencing other cultures while acknowledging the many different problems that mass immigration will create. This is not being close-minded, this is being objective.
Or are you just assuming where people are from? There's a lot of people with brown skin in the world, and they don't all come from Bangladesh. I don't know, do they have fresh fruit and vegetables in Bangladesh? I mean, that's one indication it might look like Bangladesh. I've seen this guy's videos, by the way. He goes to Bangladesh.
Okay, thank you. Right. Wow, it is madness.
He's gone to a random farmer's market where the population of immigrants is a bit higher than other places in the city, and he's saying, yep, we're in fucking Bangladesh.
He's using the terms looks like and or something in order to compare by not being objectively accurate. Yes, these people may or may not be from Bangladesh, but they are definitely not from Italy. I know some of you will say why or how do you know? Well, they are brown. Italy has been a white country for centuries. They may be born in Italy, they may have grown up in Italy, but that doesn't make them actual Italians. And no, this market isn't just one tiny portion of the city, and it isn't just slightly more multicultural. He is showing you, using his own recording, an actual video, that you can barely see any pure, in quotes, Italians.
To gather from this video, it's like this guy, this is so obnoxious. A lot of these guys that we're going to look at, they have an idea in their head of what European culture is. Their idea of these things is like a caricature. It is like a postcard. It is not like what they're actually experiencing on a daily basis. What are these people doing on a regular basis? Selling and buying a bunch of produce in a market. And he's saying, this isn't Europe. I'm not seeing any white cheese vendors. This is nothing like Europe. This is nothing like Rome.
I know I am showing very long and dragged out clips, but it is actually needed. I want to show everything Ian says so we can actively understand and answer all of it. First thing first, you do not need the vlogger to tell you anything. You can see it. Make the connection with your brain. And do not say this was a joke. We can absolutely tell that you are intellectually incapable of understanding what this TikToker mean. Now, when it comes to the whole postcard stuff, it is quite a strange argument because if you actually try to make some friends here in Europe and were actually open-minded yourself, you will know that even Europeans, in this case Italians, but it applies to one majority of European people, actually agree with this TikToker. Yes, European culture, in this case Italian, is slowly being replaced. Yes, Italians are experiencing every single day the actual death of their own culture, and that also includes the landscape, the ethnicity, and the mannerism. If I put myself right next to an Italian, while both of us have the same English accent, this is theoretical obviously, you would still be able to tell who is French and who is Italian. Mannerism, whether it's expressed through the body or through speech, all the way to skin color, will all give you hints at who is what. And the complete sum of all these Italians create the landscape and culture of Italy. If suddenly you bring people from the exterior of that culture, Italy does not resemble Italy no more. If you combine all of this, you get the identity. This whole identity then represents the country. If you take away all those brown people, you will 100% be able to tell that this is Italy. If you keep those brown people here, it suddenly could be anywhere in the world. Rome, Paris, London, Dhaka, it could even be Islamabad or a poor district of Dubai for all we know. And when foreigners come to Rome, they do not want to see Dhaka or a poor district of Dubai. They want to see Italians acting like Italians, speaking Italian and speaking like Italians, while cooking Italian food. And it's even more accurate and important when it's about a touristic place such as Rome. People want to visit and experience Italy, not somewhere else. They want to see that postcard. And not only foreigners want to see that postcard, but the actual inhabitants of that country and of that city still want to experience their own identity, their own culture within that city. They don't want it replaced. They want it to keep going and thrive.
Okay, dude, what the fuck are they? What the fuck are these people living in Italy? What does an Italian look like? You don't see an Italian? What are they gonna wear, a name tag? Yeah, my name's Riccardo, the Italian. Maybe instead of saying, I don't see any Italians here, you can fucking ask any of these people who are most certainly Italian, ask them if they're Italian. I might not look like Mario, but I'm Italian. I know, it's hard to believe.
No, the one majority of the people that you are seeing right now are not Italians. It's not a question of do they look like Mario or not. In this current situation, being Italian means having actual Italian ancestors and Italian genes. When you're brown, you do not have Italian ancestors. That's just basic genetics.
I am more Italian than any of these people.
By the way, guys, his clothing brand is called Conquest. He's a white South African making travel vlogs that are vaguely xenophobic. And his clothing brand is called Conquest. We gotta retire one of those things at least. I would recommend the xenophobic part, but you could also change the Conquest part as well. You know, at least one.
Multiple things to say here. So one time you're basically advocating that being part of an ethnicity has nothing to do with genes. Doesn't matter if you were born in China from two Chinese parents, so long as you have Italian citizenship, then you're Italian. Which means that being Italian is absolutely and utterly meaningless, and so anybody can be Italian. And on the other hand, you criticize someone that is very obviously a foreigner applying your same exact logic. Now, I know that the TikToker was actually joking, but let's be honest, Ian, you weren't. You're actively contradicting yourself. Being Italian on paper means absolutely nothing other than you are a citizen of Italy, which does not make you genetically an Italian. This is what we are talking about here: ancestors, genetics, culture, not IDs. And honestly, your constant insult of he's racist, he's xenophobic is leading you nowhere. There's no hatred in these TikToks, just observations. If your glasses aren't good enough for you to see that, then go take the ones that you use when you're watching your wife getting smashed by your neighbor.
Saying that the streets is dangerous.
No, sono pericolosi.
Perché?
Perché hanno i coltelli tutti quanti, i maceti. Con i
Maceti?
Sì, loro.
Look at all these
Non
guys.
fatti vedere troppo. Qua.
Look at all the shits on the floor. And here they are, just loitering. Very dangerous, he's saying.
Se passo là io adesso, sono un centinaio, mi caricano, sicuro.
So this is the part of the video where they really up the levels of propaganda. They start you off softly implying by just showing you like, this isn't like the postcards of Europe that you see. You guys have heard of Rome in your history class. You never saw pictures like this. You saw beautiful things like the Colosseum, but now you have to see immigrants. And then you get to this guy who's like, all right, now that I primed you, I'm going to tell you how dangerous this street is that's adjacent to the farmer's market. Never mind the fact that none of you have any idea what this market is, what this street is. He's just going to act like he's an authority on the matter and vaguely imply that it's an immigrant problem and not a poverty problem.
How he is showing the reality propaganda. He sees a person, asks them about what is going on around here. That's all. The person who is very likely local and knows two streets much better than you explains how dangerous it is. That's all. And it has nothing to do with poverty. I am poor. A lot of people around the world is poor. What a shocker. Being poor doesn't drive you to commit crimes and roam around with machetes and knives. I have personally never committed a crime. There's plenty of poor people that has never committed a crime, and when I need to go outside, I never put a knife in my pocket or even less a machete. Poverty does not lead to crime. It can intensify the real factors that lead people to committing crimes, but it is not a factor in and of itself. And I, personally, a poor person, do not want to be lectured about my situation by a person who very obviously has never seen an empty fridge or mold growing rapidly around his house. You are being willingly ignorant in order to create a narrative that fits your personal political opinions while ignoring objective observations and facts. That is propaganda. And no, I won't talk about the end of the clip. It's pointless. Nobody was even harassing anybody. Now I will actually stop here because I really don't want to continue. Ian pretty much uses the same arguments over and over again, and those arguments are actually the same ones that everyone has been throwing around since the 90s. And I only wanted to do this because I'm actually pretty bored. But the reality is that anybody can annihilate those kind of videos with just a tiny bit of common sense. I repeat myself, the fact that if I went to Congo, became a citizen of Congo, actual real Congolese will still not consider me as a real Congolese. That's just the way it is. Genetics does matter, except in Europe and America apparently. If you want to be guilty for being white Ian, that's a you problem, not ours.